So if you want to be hitting absolute banger trades like this one on the screen, make sure you stick around till the end of the video, because I'm going to show you my strategy and I'm going to show you all the ways in which I have been trading it this week and last week, with all the winners that and I've also included a few of the losses as well. 80% win rate, exceptionally easy in my opinion strategy to follow. And like I said, if you do want to be hitting some bangers like this, then stick around, watch till the end, and leave a like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. If you do want to get signals and alerts, you can get them down below in the description. As always, let's begin. So very simply, I'm just going to show you what my strategy is. Really simple stuff. So basically, let's just say this is your 5-minute time frame. You've got your market structure coming like this, and then all I do is I'll go and I'll mark out these key swing low areas where there is liquidity. Really simple stuff. This takes like 5 seconds to do, as you can see. Go on my chart, do something like this, and then all I'll do is I'll wait for price to come down, sweep one of these major lows, and then I'll be waiting for a reaction to see if we get a V shape back to the upside like this, and I'll be looking for an inverted fair value gap. Very simple. A lot of people have been trading this recently, but I've got my own specific model in terms of scaling in and out of positions that I like to use. But basically, this is what I'm looking for: sweep of liquidity, inversion to the upside, and usually the best ones that I'm looking for are these 3 candle pattern V shapes like this. These are the ones that are absolutely amazing and usually work really well. So you form your fair value gap with your 3 candles. There's a gap in the middle like this. You draw your gap in, and then if you get a 3 candle V shape like this, this is really good, especially after a major liquidity sweep. It gives me fairly good confidence that the price is going to reverse from this area. And then very simply, all I would do is I would enter once we invert that gap. I trade 25 accounts personally, copy traded. So what I do is I'll size for about $100, $150 per account, and I'll size halfway between the low and the gap like this. Say for example, this is your low and then this is your gap. You take the trade with the inverse. My stop loss is sized for about a close about halfway between these 2 gaps. So if it does come back against me, I have time to close down here before it hits the low again, because I'll probably be wrong if it comes back around. And then what I do is I just target a 1-for-1. So if I'm wrong and we close back below, I'll close the position for a loss. But if I'm right, we'll hit a 1-for-1. I'll take half my position off there and go break even on the rest of the trade. And usually what happens with this is pretty much every single trade that I take like this will at least hit the 1R and the break even point. So I'll lock in a little bit of profit. And then if I'm right, price will usually just absolutely explode to the upside like this. But if I'm wrong, price might just have a temporary bounce and then come down and hit my break even. And then the break even usually saves me from being involved in another move to the downside like this. So generally speaking, this method really works well for me personally, because it means I can lock in a bit of profit at 1-for-1. If I'm right, then I'll make a lot more profit. But if I'm wrong, it means that I haven't missed out on some profit and just sat and ended up being in a break-even trade for like ages and missed out on profit. So this personally works really well for me. I know some people have a problem with taking some of your position off and going break even before 1R, because it's negative RR. But for me personally, because my win rate is so high, it doesn't really affect me that much at all. And really, I've only taken 1 or 2 losses in the past month. So the vast majority of the time, I'll usually take 2 or 3 of these scale 1R and break even trades before I ever take a loss anyway. So in reality, it doesn't really affect me in terms of my profitability. And more than half the time, I'll come up and hit a 2 or a 3R. And this is basically the strategy. You can take inverses as well that are something like this, and then they take a few candles to inverse back up. As long as the V shape looks good like this, I think the less candles it takes, the better. But sometimes you can flick between your time frames as well and basically figure out, you know, which one would be the best to take. And this is my strategy. It's really very simple, and I'm going to show you some amazing examples of it right now. So on our 5-minute time frame here, this was a perfect one on Monday to show you. As we can see here, this is our price action for last week. We open up with a massive new week opening gap to the downside. We come down, sweep liquidity here, and we come over, if you look to the side here, and sweep this major low, which was a really obvious place where we were going to get price potentially come back and reverse. So I've got alerts set at these lows, as you might imagine, because you can see from my strategy that basically I'm waiting for these lows. I just set alerts at them and wait for them to get hit. I saw that this got hit here, but we never really got anything back to the upside here on the first push. And this was on bank holiday, so I was being a bit more cautious. But you can see here on the 5 minute, really nothing here at all. But then we come down, we sweep the low again, and look what we get. Let's just take a look at this in live time. If I can find my replay tool. It's hidden behind this thing. Take a look at this in live time. So we've come down, we've swept the low. And then if I wind this on, you can see on the 5 minute here, we come down, we sweep the low again. And we create this fair value gap. And I'm thinking this is a really obvious fair value gap about where we swept liquidity. If we come back up here, we could potentially get ourselves a nice inverse. And then look at this really, really good candle here. And then obviously the next candle, absolutely beautiful, beautiful close over, massive amounts of momentum. Look how good this candle is. You've got all your chop here with smaller candles, and then you get this big move down and back up. This is what you want to see. And then I entered on this area here, risking about 2 micros on this trade. As you can see, this was an absolute banger of a trade in my opinion. This was an interesting one for me because I actually entered down here on a 30-second entry, but I also scaled in on this 5 minute as well. So my average entry was actually somewhere down here for me personally. But as you can see, you could have easily just entered on this level here. Got your stop loss sized for about halfway between the low and the gap, as you can see. Targeting a 1-for-1. And then if you wind this on, you can see we came up and hit the 1-for-1 basically instantly. If you'd have taken this with 2 micros, you could have took half off here. And then if you actually look, unfortunately, you would have just about been tagged out at break even on the rest before it continued in your direction eventually. But because of where I scaled in, I was actually an average entry here. And then I ended up taking some profit off here for around $100, $120-ish. And then I held the second one up for around a 3-to-1 up here. So I made about $300 on this trade on all my accounts. Really, really good trade. And I managed this one because on the 1 minute, I think the 1 minute will show you this as well. Down here, there was a 30-second that was really obvious because we came down, accumulated, manipulated, and inversed. I took a starter position here and then I averaged in here and then ended up having a really, really good trade where we came back up through all this liquidity. So this was an absolutely textbook long, as you can see here. And there's been quite a few trades. This week's been a bit of a weird one. Some pretty crazy swings and no real good trades from what I've seen personally. I've been cautiously waiting for quite a lot of these lows to get hit. But really, we've been quite bullish this week, as you can see. Because we came down, we got that trade on Monday, which was here. And then Tuesday we came down into this area. And there wasn't really anything clean here. Although we did eventually push to the upside. Wednesday we had this really crazy price action with all the Greenland stuff going on. And then since then we've never really swept any of these major lows. You can see we just missed the low this morning. So there hasn't really been any trades this week. But last week there was quite a few good trades, which I'll show you. On the Friday, which was OPEX, there was a 5 minute long here, which was pretty obvious. If you take a look here, why is my... There we go. For some reason my thing wasn't working. You can see really obvious lows here getting swept. Really close by. There's also an obvious low here getting swept. We come down through OPEX. I'm always cautious on OPEX because price is always really manipulated. That's when all the futures contracts are expiring. So price action tends to get manipulated to try and make them all worthless for people, basically, for options, etc. So basically, as you can see here, this 5 minute would have worked. 3 big major liquidity sweeps, sized for about halfway between the low and the high, targeting a 1-for-1. As you can see, the 1-for-1 would have gotten hit here. But because I only managed to take this with 1 micro because the stop loss was pretty huge, and because it was OPEX, I took it with a smaller position size. I trailed my stop loss up for about a 2-to-1 on this, so about $250, $300 profit. Really, really good trade. Pretty obvious stuff in my opinion. Last week there was a few good trades last week, but again the price action was not ideal, but there was some good stuff. If you look here on the 3 minute, I've just circled this so I can find it easier, because I find it really difficult to find stuff sometimes on TradingView when you're switching between time frames. But you can see here we've obviously got some really obvious liquidity lows here that I'll mark again. You can see these are really, really obvious swing lows. They'll take you like 5 seconds to find if you're on your charts. You basically just need to go mark them out and then just wait for them to get hit and then look for trades basically. But you can see here there was this really, really obvious 3 minute long that was in the AM session that I took personally. You can see this worked. We swept the low and then we actually started to chop sideways here. We never really got an inverse on the first move to the upside, although you could have, in fairness, potentially taken this one although you can see we did sweep, come back up, and then we never got the resweep, so I probably wouldn't have taken that. But once we reswept again, then I was definitely looking for a long, and you can see we've got this three candle pattern V shape here, sized for about 2 micros there, halfway between the gap and the low, and then as you can see this came up and won, which was really good. Hit the 1 for 1 in the space of the next 10 minutes, go break even on the rest, and then because I had another micro here, and we started kind of chopping sideways and not really V-shaping back up through this gap here like I would have wanted. And we were also getting closer and closer to New York Open. I think I ended up just trailing my other half of my position somewhere in this region here. I think I got stopped for about $200, $220, $230 on the trade overall. But again, another good trade. This was a good trade before Open. And then we had another trade at Open here. If you take a look, you can see we opened up bearish. We came down, we swept more liquidity. We swept all this major liquidity here. Really, really obvious in hindsight how much liquidity we swept. Had all those lows marked. And also set with alerts, as I said. So really, any single time that we come down and hit any kind of levels that I could trade from, my alerts trigger, and then I'll be watching the charts. So you don't even have to sit on the charts all day. You could literally just basically go on your chart, mark out these levels, put alerts, and then you'll get alerts on your phone. You'll be like, oh, it's hit one of my levels, I'll go and see if I can get a trade. You don't have to sit on the charts all day wondering, oh god, am I going to get a trade today? Am I just wasting my time? Blah, blah, blah. So basically this one, I only managed to take with 1 micro because it was such a big stop loss. You can see this was like 50 points, 60 point stop. So I basically just took this for a 1R. As you can see, we got to 1R and I just started trading my stop loss, and I got stopped pretty much at 1R in this area for about $150. Another good trade. And then we were coming down throughout this New York session. And then we came down, swept another major low, which I can't even see on this. Can't even see on the chart because it's so far back. But if you look here, you can see here, this is the particular day we're talking about. You can see we came down, swept more. I mean, look at all this liquidity here. Loads of liquidity getting swept all the way down through this area of LRLR here as well. You could say this is like stacked liquidity. We come all the way down to this low here, and then eventually we do get ourselves a inverse. This is an interesting one because I've said before, you can see these AMD trades playing out in real time as well. Accumulation, manipulation of the low, distribution back up. You can see this one here also. Pretty obvious. 3-minute gap again. Nice 3 candle pattern V shape. You can see your 3 candles here, and then bang, come up, close back above. Tells me that price wants to reverse. Sized for about 2 micros on this one, halfway between the low and the gap. As usual, risking about $100, $150 per account. We come up, we hit the 1 for 1 in pretty much instantly over the next 5 minutes. Take half my position off, as always, go break even on the rest. And then targeting the rest, basically just leaving a runner back up through this price action. But for this particular one, it chopped around so much, and I was thinking it's getting quite late in the day. I'm probably just going to close the rest. So I closed the rest at about a 2R. Ended up making about $200 on this trade as well. So about $400, $500 on the day for that particular day on Wednesday, which was fantastic. Really, really good stuff. Overall, there's been plenty of banger trades recently. And I really do think that you should go and like the video, subscribe, leave a comment down below. I'm not going to waffle on and on because I think you get the idea. I've got tons of videos on the channel. Make sure you go watch the other ones. Like and subscribe. Really, really helps me out. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'm not going to let you know my thoughts because you know my thoughts. I've just told you them. Leave a comment. Ask me questions. And if you do want to get alerts, signals, and more information about the strategy in more detail, you can get them in the WAP down below for the private Discord. And I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.